Right. Hopefully it'll keep up, but I'm only going to be on here for an hour. Right. I'm going to wait a couple of minutes just to see if anybody pops in. But for the most part, I'm doing this as a spontaneous thing. I've only got about an hour or so, roughly just over an hour, because my dad is at home, and I'm doing this at doing this as kind of like a spontaneous thing. But anyway, so as you can tell by the title of this live stream is, I'm going to be talking about some recent information regarding the next year's Transformers live action film, which we now have a title. I'm going to have a look for some articles really quickly while I'm live. So I'm just going to kind of talk about what's going on, where it's all led to, and obviously we now have our very first actor. We now have our very first actor playing a character. One of the hey, Decepticon King, hello, how are you? So yeah, so bear with me a second. I'm just gonna try and find the links to the articles. See if I can find anything that's recent information wise. You know what? I don't really need to bother because the recent information of a lot of it, yeah. Don't know why it did that. Decepticon King, Ron Perlman, yes, Ron Perlman. Decepticon King, need Gary Chalk. Decepticon Queen, no Gary Chalk is a travesty. I know, to be honest with you, the petition that I've, Jason, Wendy, Decepticon King and Decepticon Queen, I know you've signed it as well, I've signed it. But the thing is, I think it came a little bit too late because I generally do think they had these actors lined up to play these characters already, which is likely the hell? Annoying. Sorry about that. But yeah, I think they generally had. These actors lined up already, which is most likely the case. Yes, I don't really see anybody else playing Optimus Primal than Gary Chalk. I mean, I even saw on Facebook where the petition actually originated from, and it's somebody that works alongside Gary Chalk at like conventions. She kind of like works as like an unofficial like liaison with Gary Chalk and the fan base and conventions, and she's an artist herself. She's actually an artist, and basically that is where this petition came from. And to be honest with you, I think it's a little bit too late because the information and possible rumors of the Beast Wars live action film have been around for a while. So it would have probably made sense of kind of doing this petition a little bit sooner. You know what I mean? A little bit earlier on rather than, just doing it like a year before the film's released. But yeah, I mean, I'm not totally against. All right, I'm not totally against Ron Perlman playing Optimus Primal. He's already played Optimus Primal in the past, but he played him part of. Ron Perlman played him played Optimus Primal in the Machinima series. And yes, don't get me wrong, the Machinima series, the writing for that series, the voice direction probably was nothing compared to how it's probably going to be for this film. They're likely going to have some of the best in the industry working on this live action film for the voice side of things and everything. So I think Ron Perlman will do a good job. I am a big fan of Ron Perlman. Obviously, I'm a big fan, because he's played Hellboy. He's in Sons of Anarchy. He plays the main character, one of the main characters in Sons of Anarchy, which is a great series, by the way. If anyone's out there and interested in bikers and motorbikes in general and kind of the underground kind of thing, kind of like underground seedy stuff that goes on in bike clubs. If you're interested in that kind of thing, then I recommend checking it out. It's a good series. I've got nothing against Ron Perlman. He's a great actor. He has got history of doing voice acting. Like in his early career, he did a lot of voice acting, and he's actually one of the voice actors that voiced Scorpion for Mortal Kombat. Yes, he voiced Scorpion in the cartoon series that came out in the 90s. That wasn't really regarded as a very good series, mostly because it was it was based on Mortal Kombat, but there was no blood. There was none of the good stuff that Mortal Kombat's known for, because they fingered it to a child audience. So a lot of the good stuff about Mortal Kombat was left out because of the demographic they were trying to aim for with that series. Where are we? Decepticon King. I'm worried about the rest of the Beast Wars cast. I am as well. To be honest with you, I don't know who they're going to get. I'd be happy if they at least get one actor back that played some characters from that series. I'd be happy if they just get at least one of the original cast back. But the problem is, I think they're going in a completely original route. Some people will be all for this. Some people will be all for change, a bit of diversity with the cast. But the problem is where I stand about this is that Gary Chalk himself isn't getting much work nowadays. So he's practically free a lot of the time. So he's not under a lot of contractual obligations with certain projects. He literally, at the moment, he probably does get the odd voice role here and there, but for the most part, he's been doing a lot more on-screen acting. He's been kind of like, over the past 5-10 years, he's been mostly doing a lot of TV work, and you kind of see him in the odd film here and there as well. So when it comes to his voice acting side of things, he hasn't really been doing much work. So he would have been very much up for it. And I noticed on Facebook that Gary Chalk said that, Gary Chalk actually came out himself on his own Facebook page, thanking everybody for signing the petition. And he generally said in his own mind, he doesn't think it would be quite the same if they didn't bring back the original Beast Wars cast. Not talking about himself all the time, he's talking about genuinely all the cast that he worked with. And I stand with Gary Chalk there, because I would have really liked to see Gary Chalk reprise his role as Optimus Primal. He has played Optimus Prime in the past as well, so he knows that character. He knows where he needs to be with his voice. He understands what it means to be Optimus Prime or Optimus Primal. And obviously, David Kaye, he is Megatron, and I can't think of anybody else that could play Megatron anywhere like as good as him. I'm a little bit concerned, because it's looking like this film, even though it's not been directed by Travis Knight, which I would have liked to have seen one more film by Travis Knight, because obviously Travis Knight directed Bumblebee, and this is apparently supposed to be part of the continuity of the Bumblebee continuity. This is supposedly supposed to carry on from the point of when the rest of the Autobots come back to Earth, where Bumblebee meets with Optimus on Earth, and it's supposed to kind of be around about that point when they've met up. But this is supposedly set in the 90s. So, you know, the Bumblebee was set in the 80s. So this is kind of about roughly, I don't know how many years, but it's meant to be based in the 90s. So there is a little bit of a time gap between the Bumblebee film and this film. So that would make sense with there being a bit of a time gap of what events are gonna hopefully occur in regards to the story and what characters pop up. But I'm kind of concerned about this film of being too crowded, if you know what I mean, because I don't want it to go back. I don't want it to go into the territory. I don't want this film to go into the territory of Michael Bay territory. Okay. A lot of people give Michael Bay a lot of slack. I understand that. I've given Michael Bay a bit of slack over the years. I do at the same time recognize that the films he brought, his live action franchise, Michael Bay's live action films, if they hadn't have happened, where would Transformers be now? Would it still be here, or would it literally just be still surviving just by the skin of its teeth with the comic books? Because for a long time there was nothing before the 2007 live action film, and the live action films Michael Bay made, they helped to rekindle the brand, the franchise. They helped to bring in a new generation of fans to collecting the toys, buying the toys. It helped the Transformers brand. So yes, I recognise that. I recognise that if you know, the Michael Bay films did do some good for the franchise, did do some good for the toy line and all that. So it did help to rekindle that love for Transformers. But at the same time, there was a mess because there was this issue with the Michael Bay films where, as many of you will be aware, like certain characters would just appear out of nowhere, no introduction, nothing whatsoever of like where they came from, how they got to Earth. They just appeared. They literally just appeared without any sort of like planning or writing. It most likely was written into the script, but yeah, Michael Bay had this awful thing of messing up the scripts right at the last moment. Like, he might be presented a really good script, and then Michael Bay would then go through the script and he would literally just say, right, no, I want this changing, I want that changing. So that's why the films, the end result of the films seemed so out of phase with itself and confusing and all over the place, you know? So I don't want, because this film, this film is really in jeopardy of being of becoming something like that, in my opinion. I really do think so. So yeah, so Transformers: Rise of the Beasts is the title of the new film. Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. So obviously with Rise of the Beasts, and obviously they just confirmed Optimus Primal is certainly in the film because Ron Perlman. No, but the thing is though, you got to take into consideration as well is Optimus Primal actually going to be on screen? Is he actually going to be properly in the film? Or are they going to do something a little bit like Bumblebee, where Primal is kind of I don't know, it's kind of like a secondary kind of thing, and he doesn't come into it until the end of the film. I don't know, but from what we can gather, they've just announced obviously Ron Perlman in the film to play Optimus Primal. So Optimus Primal is confirmed for the film. Now, according to the information that was released, they only mentioned Cheetor. So Cheetor is apparently going to be in the film as well, because apparently Cheetor is supposedly meant to be the guardian of some sort of device or something. It's meant to be like a guardian thing. So they're kind of going with Cheetor. It looks like they're kind of going into the kind of the mindism. Going into. It looks like they're going with where they're going with like Cyberverse, because in Transformers Cyberverse, Cheetor appears in Cyberverse, and in Transformers Cyberverse, he literally is kind of the guardian of something. So it looks like they are sticking with the current trend for Cheetor, and it looks like he is going to be a guardian of something in the film. So it looks like we're going to have Primal and Cheetor. I have no idea if we're going to have all the Maximals or all the Predacons, but it looks at least we're going to get Primal and possibly Cheetor. But the thing is, it does run the risk. This film runs the risk of going into the territory of just too many characters on the screen. Because there's going to be Terracons, Predacons, and Maximals, and I'm just a little. And obviously, there's going to be Autobots and Decepticons as well. So I'm kind of like, I'm a bit concerned. I mean, don't get me wrong, this film might end up being pretty darn cool and really entertaining to watch, but I'm just a bit concerned of that. How many characters are they going to have from each faction? The Autobots, the Decepticons, they're bringing in Terracons now. Okay, and they're also bringing in. I just don't know. I just don't know where it's going with it. I'm just a little bit concerned. You know what I mean? Right, where are we with the chat? Decepticon King, possibly no, Kate. No, possibly not. If they've not got Gary Chalk, then I don't think they're going to have any of the original cast at all. Decepticon King, yet he wasn't fully in Bumblebee. No, he wasn't. Yeah, they got Cullen. Yeah, they got Peter Cullen back to reprise Optimus Prime, which, yeah, if they can get Cullen back to reprise Optimus Prime, why can't they get Gary Chalk to reprise Optimus Primal? I really don't understand it. I really don't. Decepticon King, I can only barely just watch the first BATF film. I can't watch the others. I actually don't mind the first one. The 2007 film, for me, is probably the best he did, because it was God damn it, to what Transformers was. And it had kind of like the perfect amount of Autobots and Decepticons. There was the perfect from both sides. Hmm. Right. Where are we? Decepticon King, Bear ruined TMNT as well. Yeah, they're not great. Decepticon Queen. Personally, my gripe with the Bear films was the focus on humans and cringy sex jokes. Yeah, yeah. Some of those scenes are so cringy to the point where I just can't take it seriously. Just by the way, I've got rid of a couple of people that are watching. They could have been innocent, but when anyone says or threatens to unsubscribe from me because I'm not talking directly to them, I don't really care if you unsubscribe to my channel. I cannot be fucking arsed with people like you. All right? The world doesn't gravitate towards you. All right? This is just a live chat, and I'm talking about a specific subject, and you're coming on here talking about Gollum and Lord of the Rings. Don't get me wrong, I like Gollum and I like Lord of the Rings, but I'm not going to be fucking threatened on my own fucking channel, on my own fucking live stream, because you want me to fucking talk to you about fucking dickhead fucking Gollum. Go and fuck yourself, you little prick. Go and get a fucking life. Not just you, the other guy and all. Anyway, let's progress, shall we? Yeah, don't worry about it. Decepticon King. I'm used to it. I've been on YouTube long enough to be able to deal with dickheads like that, fucking keyboard warriors. They must have just had the teas. The mummies must have just finished their tea. They've just had their tea, gone back down to their basement in their house, and thought, "Who can I fuck off today?" Yeah, that's probably it. Anyways, let's get back on track, shall we? So yeah, it's unfortunate that they've got, they've managed to get Peter Cullen. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can't have Optimus Prime without Cullen. I get it. But the problem is you can't have Optimus Prime without Gary Chalk either. And I just think there's a bit of resentment still centered around the original Beast Wars series, because it seems to me that they've deliberately ignored what's going on online, ignored what's going on in the original thing, and the guy directing this film seems to me, I'm hoping he understands Beast Wars and he's a fan of Beast Wars, because if he's not, this is going to end up like a Michael Bay film, where there's going to be too many characters on screen at any one time. And obviously, don't get me wrong, again, I don't have a problem with Ron Perlman playing Primal. He's played Primal in the past. He's a good actor. He has done voice acting in the past. So I've got no problems with Ron Perlman playing Primal. But at the same time, it would have been nice to get Gary Chalk back to play that character. You know what I mean? It would have been nice. Just thinking they've gone to get their bums wiped. Yeah, probably. Yeah, Decepticon Queen. It is probably bedtime for them soon. Good school night. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like I've got the other guy back. Fuck off. What's the point of talking about Gollum? What is the fucking satisfaction of talking about Gollum for? Don't worry about it. It's obviously somebody with multiple accounts. Anyways. But yeah, what do you guys think in the chat? Maybe Gollum is a cousin of theirs. Maybe. So, anybody in the chat want to talk about what's going on? What they think this film's... because... I mean, I was going to do a proper intensive search and get some articles up and everything, but I really cannot be bothered. To be honest with you, there hasn't been that much information dropped in regards to this film coming out next year. The only information is that they've released the title of the film and confirming there's going to be Beast Wars characters in there and Terracons and such. And they've obviously now just announced that Ron Perlman's going to be playing Optimus Primal. So that is the recent news in regards to this film. So there's no point me going into article territory just for that. But yeah, I think I've hit it right at the point where you get all a lot of idiots on YouTube. Anyways. So anyone, hello. Decepticon King. I think the film might be a poo now. You don't know. I think obviously at some point soon we'll probably get some sort of a teaser trail for it. I mean, obviously it's not coming out till next year, so we might not get anything this year. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, we might get something. We might get something later in the year. I don't know, but you don't know how much of it's been animated. I mean, if they've only just, I mean, they've only just announced Ron Perlman's playing Optimus Primal, so the likelihood is he's already been working on it, and they've only just, obviously, through contractual obligations, they've been able to announce that he's definitely playing the character. So they've likely completed, or they've probably already have done the voice work for it. So they're probably now moving on to, because I don't know if they've finished the filming side of it. I've no idea if they've finished the filming side of it or if they're set to start filming soon, because the voice side of it's always done first. The voicing side of it, the ADR voice directing and all voice and all that is done usually one of the first points of call, is that's all handled first. So then they'll start moving on to other things, kind of like obviously filming the film, obviously, and but I don't know if they've actually been filming it or if they're due to film it, because there's still about a good year or so for the film to actually release. So there's still plenty of time for them to actually get the filming out the way for it. I've no idea. But it's going to take, because the amount of characters that's likely going to be in this film, there's going to be a hell of a lot of CGI. So also they announced there's going to be a different, I believe there's going to be a different animation company working on the CGI characters. In the past, it was Industrial Light and Magic. Industrial Light and Magic were the ones that did the film. They did the CGI work for the Michael Bay films, and I believe they worked with them for Bumblebee as well. But apparently, they announced that they're working on. They announced that they're working on, or they're working with a different company as well, but I've forgotten the company name. But they're working with another company now for the CGI stuff instead of ILM. So that's going to be interesting to see what the finished result is going to be like. Decepticon Queen, by the way, absolutely love the shirt. Very cool. Thank you very much. Gotta love my boy Soundwave. And Decepticon Queen, have you seen the new collab they are planning, the Jurassic Park one? I have, yes. I saw the teaser for it on, I think it was on Twitter, and also it was on. Oh, great! I just killed two figures by accident. Oh well, there we go. Put that down there. Here we go again. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think I've started this at a point where all the dickheads are out in force. They've just had the dinners. The mummies have just done their dinner for them, so they've gone down to their little cellar in the house and started to do keyboard stuff. So. Anyway, so yeah, I'll get back to replying to you, Wendy. So yeah, I've seen the Jurassic Park collab. There was it was on Twitter, and I noticed it on Twitter, and I noticed it on Instagram, and so yeah, that seems interesting. It looks like they're doing the Jurassic Park. It looks like it's going to be the Jeep, the signature Jeep that goes around. It looks like they're doing a figure based on that Jeep. Depending on what that figure looks like, I might get it. I've not been massively. I've not really been into. At the moment, I'm not really into the ones that I've seen. I don't like the X-Men one, where they did the jet. I don't like the X-Men one. It looks real. I don't like the look of that. I'm thinking about maybe getting the Ecto one, which is the Ghostbusters one, because the car itself looks brilliant. And obviously they've done the Back to the Future now as well. They've done a few, but yeah, depending on what the bot mode looks like, I might maybe get the Jurassic Park one because I love my Jurassic Park. One of my favourite films. Decepticon King, we need another 86 movie. Yeah, well, we might be getting that because there is an animated. There is a fully animated film coming to cinemas. Josh Cooley, that directed Toy Story 4, is directing a. It's meant to be well, I heard that it's a fully animated prequel. Okay, I heard that it's a fully animated prequel that they're working on, and apparently it's going to be the full film's going to be set mostly on Cybertron. So I don't know if that's still the case, but there is the film that's coming. I think it's the film that's coming after the film next year. So I think the animated film is the next film slate for Transformers. But there's apparently about 3 or 4 different Transformers live action films currently in the works. One of them being a fully animated film, and the rest of them being live action. So Decepticon King, sorry. They all are eating jam sandwiches and ice cream. Yeah, probably are. But yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned about this film. I know I'm repeating myself because I've not got much to really talk about in regards to the recent news, but it's just for me personally that Beast Wars, like they've managed to get Frank Welker and Peter Cullen back for the live action films. Okay, they managed to get those 2 actors back because they originally played the characters, and they're doing that for the G1 side of things. They're getting Peter Cullen and they're getting Frank Welker. I honestly just don't know what the issue is with them getting Scott McNeil, getting Gary Chalk, getting David Kay, getting some of the other characters. I mean, to be honest with you, I would have been happy and content if they managed to just get David Kay and Gary Chalk back to play Megatron and and Optimus Primal. I would have been content if they just got at least two of the original cast back. But the thing is, it's looking like the petition that we signed, it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, you don't know. They might take it into consideration. You don't know whether they're with them bringing in Beast Wars characters for the first time on the big screen. You don't know, right? You don't know if they are maybe considering in the future to do a dedicated Beast Wars movie where it is a full-on Beast Wars film. So maybe they are doing this to test the waters, to see if there's still see if there's still interest in the Beast Wars line. Obviously, Hasbro have noticed there is, because the Kingdom line's doing very well. They are releasing all sorts of different characters from the Maximals and Predacons for the Kingdom line. The Kingdom line's done really quite well. So Hasbro are noticing that the toys are selling well for the Beast Wars characters. So if that's working right, and this film that's coming out next year, I'm thinking they are using it as a way to test the waters. You know, I'm thinking they are probably testing the waters just to see whether there is still some interest in Beast Wars itself on the screen, because it's been so long since these characters have been on the screen. You know, because obviously the original series came out, I think it was about 95, 96, roughly about that. So the original series came out around about that time, and the original toy line came out about 96, 97. So I'm thinking that they are just using this as a way to see, as a way like, oh, right, okay, let's bring these Beast Wars characters into it, or at least a couple from the Predacons and the Maximal side. So let's see how well received it is, and then if it works out, maybe in the future they may consider doing, because there are some live action films slated. There are some live action films slated that do not have that are in very, very, very early production. So they are at the point of the writing stage at the moment. And apparently, from what I can gather, there's about 4 different projects for the Transformers films in production. So for all I know, one of those films might possibly be a full-on Beast Wars film that is probably due out in the next 3 or 4 years. So we just don't know yet. Because there is a lot of interest still for Beast Wars. You can tell there is. There is still an adoring fan base that love the original show and love those characters, and you can tell there's still interest because they are wanting to. They are still wanting. You know what I mean? They are still wanting. There is still an adoring fan base, basically, for these characters. There is still want. There's still interest. There is people buying the new toys for the Kingdom line. So this is telling Hasbro there is still interest and want. Hence why they've gone for the next live action film. They're going to be bringing in Beast Wars characters for the first time in the live action spectrum. So I'm kind of thinking to myself is, if that is the case, right? If that is the case, and they are definitely doing that, then I'm thinking they are trying to test the waters, so to speak. Okay, they are trying to test the waters, and you don't know whether at some point in the future they may indeed consider making a full-on Beast Wars film. But in order to do that, that's going to be a very expensive film. And it is going to be like there will have to be no human interaction if they want to do a dedicated Beast Wars film, because originally Beast Wars takes place during like millions of years before humans are even on the planet. It's after the dinosaurs. It's kind of at a point in time where the dinosaurs are dead because Megatron and Dinobot and all the other dinosaur the ones that take the form of a dinosaur, their forms are taken from fossils. So that makes you think that obviously it's after the dinosaurs have died off. It's at a point where very early human Homo sapiens are on the planet. So like caveman times. So you've still got animals on the planet that you would recognize, like gorillas and things like that. So it's at a point in time where it's set at a point in time where it's before modern day humans, if you know what I mean. So it would make perfect sense of if there was to make a dedicated Beast Wars film in the future, which I'm thinking that they're thinking about doing, depending of how well this film is received, obviously. If this film isn't well received, then it's not going to happen. Because at the end of the day, they only care about that, the money. Because obviously with Transformers Bumblebee, it did relatively well. It made its money back, and it did get some money on top of what the money cost, the movie cost. But it wasn't a lot of money for them to really be excited. But yet they have finally decided to make a sequel, or at least a film that is set within the continuity of Bumblebee. So this is supposedly meant to be Bumblebee 2, but they are bringing in Terracons. I'm actually really interested about the Terracon implement, because what kind of Terracons are they talking about? Are they talking about zombified Terracons? Or if they're talking about a specific class of Cybertronian that are known as Terracons? Because originally the Terracons were, I think it was Hunger, Mind Wipe, was it? I think it was like the ones that were from the Headmasters era, I believe. No, the ones that were Headmasters, part of the Japanese continuity of G1. So there's a lot of that going on. So I'm thinking, is it going to be them Terracons, or are they going to think about bringing in zombified Dark Energon-esque kind of zombified Terracons? Because in Transformers Prime, they did, in Transformers Prime, they did the Terracon Cliffjumper. So Cliffjumper was in the first episode, and he got killed off, and he was infected with Dark Energon, and he came back. It resurrected him, right? And he became a Terracon. So in the Transformers Prime continuity, he was known as a Terracon because he was like a zombified robot, basically, that basically any sort of characteristics that made Cliffjumper were no longer there. So I'm kind of wondering to myself, is that what kind of Terracons are we talking about here? Are they going to be doing the zombified element that we had in Transformers Prime, or are we getting actual G1 continuity? Like we're going to get like Hunger, Mind Wipe, and those characters I believe were known as Terracons, because the Terracons originally were the ones that combined to make Abominus, I believe. I apologize if I'm wrong by that, but yeah, there's two sides of the Terracon name, so I'm kind of intrigued about the Terracon side, but I'm hoping, I mean, like I say, I'm repeating myself again, I have no issues with Ron Perlman playing Primal. He's a good actor. He is an established voice actor. He's done a lot of voice acting over the years. But the problem is, it would have just been nice, that cherry on the top, because they're getting Peter Cullen back to play Primal. To play Optimus Prime. Sorry. So they're getting him back. So what is the problem with getting Gary Chalk? Gary Chalk was obviously free to do this film, and he wanted to do this film. All right? Because from what I could gather from the status, Gary Chalk's status on Facebook that I read, he was only too happy to do this. And he was thanking fans for the petition that was going around. That he felt in himself that if he doesn't come back, right? If Gary doesn't come back to play Primal and David Kaye to play Megatron and so on and so forth, without the original cast, he doesn't think it will be any good. But end of the day, that's their opinion. And end of the day, I generally I'm at that standpoint where I believe that it would have been nice to get the original cast back. All right? It would have been nice to get the original cast back because they're getting the original Optimus Prime back. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? You get your Peter Cullen, but you don't get your Gary Chalk. I understand that only a certain generation of kids will understand where Gary Chalk's Optimus Prime and Primal comes from. But Optimus Prime's practically been in everything except for the Netflix series and also the Unicron trilogy. So they're the only two series. No, and Robots in Disguise from 2001. There is literally only 3 points in the Transformers timeline on TV through the cartoons and such, where Peter Cullen did not come back to play Optimus Prime. Gary Chalk played Optimus Prime in the Unicron trilogy and also played Primal in Beast Wars. So, and Neil Kaplan played Optimus in the 2001 Robots in Disguise series. So, I don't know. I just think to myself, it would have just been a nice cherry on the top. It would have been nice to see Gary getting some recognition properly. I mean, he's a great voice actor. He's a part of a lot of kids' childhoods because he's worked on things like Sonic the Hedgehog. He's worked on a lot of really great series. And it's just unfortunate that obviously David Kaye, he's very busy. He's still working a lot. I don't know about anybody else. I don't know about Scott McNeil. I don't hear much about Scott McNeil anymore. But from Gary Chalk's standpoint, he doesn't do much work at the moment. He really hasn't. He's been struggling to find work. And he's actually been contemplating on retirement from it all because he's just not getting any work anymore. And it would have been nice to just give Gary Chalk that option or that opportunity to reprise that role because it might have been able to bring back some work for the man. You know what I mean? That's all I'm thinking about. It's just, but the industry doesn't think like that. The industry, there's a lot of issues with voice acting in the industry. They don't seem to get as much respect compared to other actors. So, unfortunately. Something King, Hunger, Ripper Snapper, Bolt, Sinner Twin, Cutthroat, Cindersaw. That's right, yeah. But yeah. But that's all I wanted to just come on here and talk about. It's just I understand that the petition's probably the petition that went around. I understand that I think it's a little bit too late that this petition appeared out of nowhere, okay? Because by the looks of it, in order to portray Ron Perlman, who is a very much in-demand actor, who is he's a big actor, big-time actor. So in order for them to get him, I think he's obviously been working on this. I think he's probably been doing his voicing side of it for a bit now. And they're obviously moving on with the next phase of the film process. So, but no, I mean, again, who knows? Until we get a trailer, that's it, and we can kind of see how these characters interact with one another, how the film seems to come over in the trailer, then we can kind of start to put things together and having a proper opinion on things. I'm trying to be fair, and I'm trying to kind of see it in an open-minded sense. But I just can't really understand why they can get Peter Cullen all the time, but they just can't bring back other voice actors. I mean, at least Michael Bay did a little bit of that. They got Leonard Nimoy to voice Sentinel Prime as a nice nod because Leonard Nimoy played Galvatron in the '86 movie. So at least in the Michael Bay films, there was a little bit of that where they got certain voice actors to come back that also voiced within the cartoon side of things. So they got the legendary Leonard Nimoy to play Sentinel Prime, and he played Galvatron in the '86 movie. They got Peter Cullen to come. They got Peter Cullen to come back to play Optimus Prime. They got Frank Welker to come back eventually because obviously it was originally Hugo Weaving. The first 07 film was Hugo Weaving, I think, or was it the second one as well? I can't remember, but they managed to eventually they got Frank Welker to come back as well. So I'm just kind of thinking like they can do that for them, but they can't do that for the Beast Wars side. But I'm going to try not to be too judgmental. I'm going to try and be open-minded to a certain degree. But at the same time, Beast Wars for me is a big part of my childhood. And I just don't want it to be tarnished. I don't want the guy who's in chat, who's directing this film, I'm hoping he understands what he's doing. I'm hoping he understands what Beast Wars is, and he at least acknowledges that. And I'm hoping that the performances of the actors that do end up playing the characters do the job well. I think Ron Perlman will do a good job as Primal, but it's just who's going to be playing. Are we going to get Megatron? I don't know. Are we going to get a Beast Wars Megatron? I don't know. But for me personally, they might only bring in a couple of the Beast Wars characters, but they're talking about Predacons, so maybe, I don't know. I mean, you can't have Primal without Megatron. It's same with Prime without the other Megatron. So I don't know. We just don't know who's going to be in the film, but I'm just a bit concerned that it might be a little bit too crowded to the point where there's too many characters on screen, which kind of makes it seem like a Michael Bay thing. But I'm just hoping that the writing side of it's sound, the interaction between the characters is recognizable. So at least I want them to at least get the likeness of Primal right, how he kind of goes about things. I want Primal to be as I want him to be right. But anyway, we'll just wait and see. It's too early to really tell. It's too early to really kind of go into it too much. But once there's a trailer, I will do a response on it. When we finally get a trailer, I'll do a live stream and I'll talk about my thoughts on the trailer event when that comes out. Decepticon King. There's a video on YouTube of Peter and Frank on about the Bumblebee film. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, saying that obviously they decided to go non-union. I don't know whether it was Hasbro or if it was a Netflix thing. I think it might have been a Netflix thing. Possibly, I think it might have been a Netflix decision to go non-union. And obviously that's the reason why they didn't get Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, and a few other characters, because they got non-union actors rather than union. Because Peter Cullen and Frank Welker, they're union actors. Decepticon King. And Peter is so upset about John Bailey, who did most of the Prime in Bumblebee. Yeah, he did. Because apparently John Bailey was originally going to be playing Optimus in that film, but then they decided and went ahead and got Peter Cullen. But what is the thing that upset him the most was that Peter Cullen had to audition to play Optimus, a role that he's had since '84. Okay. He had to audition, and what he had to do was he had to essentially dub over the lines that John Bailey did. And I've got nothing against John Bailey. He is a very, very gifted voice actor. Yes, he's not Peter Cullen. He's an impressionist. He was just doing his best impression of Optimus Prime. But at the same time is that, you know, the fact is that Peter Cullen had to audition for that part, and he had to essentially dub over what had already been recorded by the other actor. So that kind of left a bit of a still stale smell in his mouth in a way. And King again. It is so sad. Peter is such a gem of a man. He literally is Optimus Prime. He is. Well, the thing is, I don't know if you heard about the story behind the story behind the creation of Optimus Prime, but in Peter Cullen's words, he based him off of his brother, who he saw as an idol. His brother, I think he was I think he was a Marine, I believe, and so basically, yeah, Larry. There we go, Larry. So he based Optimus Prime on Larry, his brother. And he also kind of put a little bit of a John Wayne twang in there as well. So it's kind of like a mixture of his brother Larry, who he looked up to, and John Wayne. Yeah, Decepticon King again. That's what I meant. Poor Peter. It is an insult to him and his legacy. It is a bit insulting, even though I've got nothing against Travis Knight, but I generally don't. I don't know. I think some points of that film, I don't think he had much input in. Because when they went to San Diego Comic Con, and you see what ended up being Blitzwing, and people are like, that's Starscream. That's Starscream's head sculpt. Why is he called Blitzwing when he should be Starscream? And he had all that kind of stuff before the film even came out. So I kind of think that some elements of that film he had a lot of control over, but I'm generally thinking that because Michael Bay was the producer on that film, so you don't know if Michael Bay had a little bit of a persuade of Travis. I know, can I just have a little bit of a dig at this kind of thing? I don't know. Decepticon Queen. Larry told Peter that he didn't need to be a gruff, aggressive leader. Powerful yet softly spoken when appreciated. And when appreciated. Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, guys, I'm going to come off in about 2 minutes. Like I was only setting out to do this as like roughly an hour. But yeah, so thank you to Wendy and Jace, Decepticon King and Decepticon Queen, for joining me again. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of come on and talk about the recent new news of Ron Perlman playing the character of Primal. What my thoughts are at the moment, even though my thoughts are a little bit premature, I will agree with that. But I'm just very passionate about Beast Wars. I'm very passionate and I'm very outspoken when it comes to Beast Wars because it was my first introduction to Transformers when I was a kid. When I saw Beast Wars and saw the whole premise of Beast Wars, like, transforming animals and beasts and insects, I was really, it just took my imagination and just ran away with it. I just absolutely love it. I've got such a soft spot for it, and I just want it to be handled with a bit of care and dignity. That's all I'm wanting. That's all anybody wants within the Beast Wars fan side of things. But anyway, we shall see. I mean, hopefully we'll probably get some point within the next couple of months or so. Maybe we might get a teaser at some point. But whenever we do get a teaser, I'll almost certainly be doing a live thoughts discussion on it. So yeah, I will do that. So yes, that is an hour now. So thank you very much again. So thank you to you, Decepticon King, to all our one. Yes, thank you to. Even though he had a couple of idiots in the stream asking about Gollum and can you talk about Lord of the Rings and your thoughts on Gollum and all a bunch of kids that probably just had the dinners and had their ice cream and jelly and then thought to go to their basement and do a bit of keyboard stuff, you know. Anyways, it's fine. Anyway, so thank you very, very much indeed for joining me, you two, again, and stay tuned for more. And I'll be doing some more video reviews very soon as well. So stay awesome, stay safe, and I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye.